Have you ever felt like life is just one competition after another? Like you're constantly trying to prove yourself, chasing after one win, only to realize there's always another battle waiting? What if I told you that true power doesn't come from playing to win once, but from learning how to play a game that never ends? Welcome to the infinite game, where success is not about finishing first, but about never running out of strength to keep going. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe, because every week we explore strategies that help you master yourself, transform your mindset, and rise above life's challenges. 1. Understanding the infinite mindset. Most of us are conditioned to think in terms of finite games. We grow up in school where the objective is to get the highest grade, beat the other students, and claim the top spot. We play sports where there are strict rules, referees, and final scores that decide once and for all who won and who lost. This training runs so deep that, without realizing it, we begin applying the same framework to our entire lives. We treat careers like competitions where someone must come out ahead. We treat relationships like transactions where one side wins and the other side loses. We even measure our worth by numbers, salaries, followers, possessions, believing that these external tallies reflect our standing in some invisible scoreboard of life. But life does not actually work like a finite game. In football, when the clock runs out, the match is over. In chess, when your king is cornered, the game ends. But in life, there is no final whistle or last move until death itself. And even then, the impact of your actions, character, and influence can ripple far beyond you. Life is better understood as an infinite game, where the goal is not to win, but to keep playing. It is about adaptation, resilience, and ongoing participation, not about arriving at some permanent state of victory. When you grasp this, everything changes. Suddenly, you stop asking, "How do I beat others?" and instead begin asking, "How do I sustain myself, my relationships, my work, and my growth over the long run?" The infinite mindset is a shift in perspective. It means understanding that temporary applause is not the same as meaningful progress. A gold medal is impressive, but it does not guarantee lasting fulfillment. A promotion feels great, but it is not the end of growth. If you view success as a destination, you risk getting stuck once you arrive. But if you view success as an ongoing journey, you remain flexible and open to continuous improvement. This is why those with an infinite mindset adapt more easily to setbacks. They don't panic when plans fall apart because they know the game isn't over. They simply adjust, learn, and keep going. Another powerful element of the infinite mindset is that it liberates you from comparison. In finite games, comparison is inevitable. Someone has more, someone has less. Someone is ahead, someone is behind. But in the infinite game, there is no fixed ranking. You are not playing against anyone else. You are simply playing to stay in the game. The only real competition is with yourself yesterday. This way of thinking is profoundly freeing. Instead of being crushed by envy or pressured by rivalry, you can focus on your own trajectory. You can measure your life not by trophies, but by progress, by resilience, and by the depth of the meaning you create. To live with an infinite mindset, then, is to embrace uncertainty with confidence. It is to understand that there will be highs and lows, but that neither defines the whole. The story is always ongoing. Winning one season of life doesn't mean you've won forever. Losing one chapter doesn't mean you've lost everything. The infinite player is not obsessed with control. They are focused on participation. They know that what matters most is not how brightly you burn for a short time, but how steadily you keep the flame alive for as long as possible. 2. Focusing on longevity over quick wins. In today's culture, there's relentless pressure to achieve quickly. The message is everywhere. Hustle harder, grow faster, get results now. You see people online flaunting quick money schemes, instant fitness transformations, and overnight successes. The temptation is strong to chase these fast victories, but here's the truth. Almost all of them are illusions. What looks like a breakthrough is often the result of years of invisible preparation. And what looks like a shortcut usually comes at a devastating cost later on. The tragedy is that many people burn themselves out chasing what was never sustainable in the first place. They sprint with everything they have, but because they didn't train for endurance, they collapse long before the real journey even unfolds. Longevity requires a different kind of mindset. It asks you to stop thinking like a sprinter and start thinking like a marathon runner. Instead of measuring how quickly you can achieve something, you measure how long you can maintain it. Quick wins can make you feel good in the moment, but they don't necessarily compound into lasting growth. A business that grows too fast without a foundation often crashes harder than one that grew steadily over time. A person who forces rapid change without patience often rebounds into old habits. True strength is not found in the speed of achievement, but in the endurance of commitment. The infinite game offers a practical question that changes everything. Instead of asking, "How fast can I get there?" ask, "How long can I keep going?" That single shift reframes all of life's pursuits. It makes you prioritize sustainability. It makes you consider your energy, your health, your relationships, and your long-term vision instead of sacrificing everything for the next quick hit of validation. Suddenly, you begin pacing yourself. You learn to breathe during the run. You learn to protect your resources, knowing the road ahead is long. This is the kind of thinking that preserves marriages, careers, and mental health. It is about endurance over speed. There is also something deeply rewarding about choosing longevity over instant gratification. Patience forces you to develop character. Endurance teaches you discipline. Slow progress gives you the humility and perspective that fast victories cannot. The person who earns success slowly tends to appreciate it more deeply because they understand what it took to build it. Meanwhile, those who gain something too quickly often take it for granted or lose it just as fast. Longevity creates resilience, while quick wins create fragility. Imagine a man jogging calmly past exhausted sprinters. The sprinters look impressive at first. They explode with energy. They leave dust in the air. They appear unstoppable. But soon, their bodies give out and they collapse on the track. The jogger, however, keeps moving. His pace is steady, his breathing controlled, his focus unshaken. At first, he looks slower, but as time passes, he is the only one still moving forward. That is the essence of longevity. Life rewards those who are still in the race when everyone else is burned out. It's not the speed of the start that matters most, it's the endurance of the journey. 3. Building systems, not just goals. Most people live their lives by chasing goals. They say, "I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to make $1 million. Or, I want to run a marathon." There's nothing wrong with goals in themselves. They give direction, they provide clarity, and they can inspire action. But the problem is that goals have an end point. Once you reach them, they are over. And once they are over, what then? Far too often, people slide back into old patterns because they never built the habits that would sustain them. This is why someone who diets hard to lose weight often gains it back, and why someone who forces themselves to reach a savings milestone often spends recklessly afterward. The problem was never the goal, It was the lack of a system. Systems are the structures and routines that keep you moving forward regardless of whether a specific goal is in sight. They are the daily habits, the disciplined practices, and the mindset frameworks that sustain growth indefinitely. A person with a goal may succeed once, but a person with a system succeeds repeatedly because the system is ongoing. If your system is, "I eat whole, nourishing food every day," then weight loss will happen naturally and stay off. If your system is, "I save a percentage of every paycheck," then financial stability will build itself over time without needing a one-time push. Systems transform progress from something temporary into something permanent. In the infinite game of life, goals will always have a place. They provide motivation and benchmarks. But systems are what ensure that your growth never stops when the goal is complete. They are the engine behind true sustainability. If you focus only on goals, you risk winning the battle, but losing the war. But if you build systems, you don't just win once, you keep winning indefinitely. Systems are how you play the infinite game, not for the sake of reaching the finish line, but for the sake of making sure the game never ends.
4. Learning from setbacks without shame. In a finite game, failure feels like the end. You lose, and it's over. But in the infinite game, failure is simply feedback. Every setback is a lesson. Every stumble is an adjustment. Every loss is just a part of progress. To live with this mindset is to remove the paralyzing weight of shame. Shame whispers that a mistake defines you, that one fall is proof of weakness, that imperfection is a permanent mark. But that is the language of a finite game. In an infinite game, the misstep is not a verdict, it is information. A wrong turn is not a dead end, but a signpost, showing you where the path needs to shift. When you understand this, you begin to see failure not as an identity, but as a teacher, a relentless and honest guide that refuses to flatter, but always refines. Think of a craftsman shaping stone or wood. Every strike of the chisel leaves behind marks, imperfections, and fragments. To the untrained eye, it looks like damage. But the master knows that each strike is part of the process, part of revealing the form hidden within. Life works the same way. Setbacks carve us into shape. They chip away at pride, illusion, and complacency until only what is strong and true remains. If we carry shame into this process, we resist the chisel, hiding from its work. If we meet it with curiosity, we cooperate with it, letting it shape us into something finer. In philosophy, the Stoics taught this lesson with clarity. Epictetus reminded his students that events themselves are not destructive. It is our judgment of them that wounds us. When you fail and call it ruin, it feels like ruin. When you fail and call it training, it becomes growth. That is why the infinite player speaks differently. They don't say, "I failed," as if the story has ended. They say, "I learned," keeping the story alive, expanding it, refusing to let one moment define the whole. To carry this perspective is to disarm shame. You begin to see mistakes as tuition paid for wisdom, not debts you can never repay. Every culture holds stories of those who rose not because they never fell, but because they turned their falls into steps. A scientist whose experiments collapse learns to ask sharper questions. An athlete who loses learns to refine technique. A leader who stumbles learns the value of humility. The difference between those who stop and those who continue is not talent, not luck, not even opportunity. It is their relationship with failure. Shame makes people hide, but curiosity makes them try again. And in the infinite game, trying again is everything. So when setbacks come, as they always will, the infinite player meets them with a simple, powerful question. What is this teaching me? This question dissolves the sting of shame and redirects energy toward growth. Instead of shrinking back, you lean in. Instead of closing down, you open. Each disappointment becomes a doorway to deeper understanding, each misstep an opportunity to strengthen the path beneath your feet. Seen this way, setbacks are not interruptions in the journey. They are the journey. And to walk without shame, but with curiosity, is to move forward endlessly, carrying every lesson as fuel for the road ahead.
5. Growing without a finish line. Here's the truth. There is no final victory in life. No amount of money, status, or trophies will mean you finally won. To believe otherwise is to mistake the finite for the infinite. The finite game promises closure, a moment when you can rest and declare yourself complete. But life never grants such a moment. Even at the peak of worldly success, hunger returns, challenges appear, questions rise. The mountain summit is not an end, it is a vantage point that reveals higher peaks. The infinite game teaches that growth itself, not completion, is the prize. The real win is not arriving at a destination, but becoming the kind of person who keeps walking, who keeps learning, who keeps unfolding. Consider the artist who never stops creating. Their greatest work is not their masterpiece, but the act of creating itself, the endless refinement of skill and vision. Consider the philosopher who, even after a lifetime of study, still calls themselves a student, still asks questions, still revises their thinking. Consider the athlete who, even after medals and records, continues training not because they must, but because the love of growth itself has no limit. These are examples of infinite players, people who know that the best version of themselves will never be a final product, but an evolving process without end. To embrace growth without a finish line is to live with freedom. You are no longer trapped by the illusion that you must prove yourself once and for all. You stop chasing milestones as if they will grant permanent satisfaction. Instead, you savor the unfolding, the progress, the process. There is power in this because it removes the desperation that so often haunts achievement. If you think life is a race to a single finish, then every setback, every pause, every delay feels like disaster. But if life is an infinite game, then there is no finish, only movement forward. Suddenly, progress is enough, curiosity is enough, learning is enough. This perspective also protects against stagnation. Many people reach a goal and then collapse into emptiness, unsure of what comes next. The promotion is won, the degree earned, the prize claimed, and yet life feels strangely hollow. Why? Because they played a finite game. They believed the goal was the end, when in fact it was only another step. The infinite player avoids this trap by holding goals lightly, seeing them as milestones rather than finish lines. Each goal is a marker of growth, not proof of completion. Each victory is a launch pad, not a landing place. The ancient Stoics understood this when they spoke of virtue as a lifelong pursuit. Marcus Aurelius, at the height of his power as emperor, still wrote reminders to himself to remain humble, to keep learning, to continue refining his soul. He did not imagine he had arrived, for he knew that the pursuit of wisdom has no final chapter. This humility is the essence of infinite growth, the recognition that however far you've come, there is always further to go, always more to see, always deeper to understand. When you adopt this mindset, you begin to live differently. You treat each day not as a step towards some final prize, but as a complete opportunity in itself. You ask, how can I grow today? How can I learn today? How can I expand who I am, even in small ways? With this orientation, life becomes less about reaching and more about becoming. And the beauty is that becoming never ends. That is why the infinite game grants freedom and power. Freedom from the anxiety of finality, and power to keep evolving as long as breath remains. To grow without a finish line is not to abandon ambition, but to elevate it, to trade the illusion of winning for the reality of endless expansion. In that endlessness lies both peace and strength.
So, the question is,
Are you still playing the finite game, chasing quick wins that leave you empty? Or are you ready to step into the infinite game, where true strength comes from longevity, systems, resilience, and endless growth? If this message resonates with you, subscribe now, because together we'll keep playing, keep growing, and keep winning without end.